Today I thought it'd be fun to discuss some of the things that are found around mines and mine dumps, some of the fun things. And of course there's always the not fun things like rattlesnakes and spiders, but we're going to talk about some of the fun things and the minerals that are found around there and some of the things that can be collectible. So first of all, know that mine dumps are where they dumped the mine, tailings, the gangue is the technical term for it. This is where they would take all the rock that they didn't want, pile it up outside, and it would just be left there. And of course they were hauling off the high-grade ore, so what was left was just the unwanted rock. Now when I say the high-grade ore, that can mean different things to different people. So the high-grade ore, the mine was trying to mine, was the stuff that had value to them, stuff that they could ship off, have processed, and make a profit. And everything else was low-grade ore. Now some of that low-grade ore was still pretty close to high-grade ore, so you could often find really good specimens of different minerals on the mine dumps of that. So for, if you were on a copper mine, you could find copper mineral specimens, and sometimes even native copper or malachite and azurite, sometimes gem quality materials, and sometimes it's just picture stuff, something you can put in your cabinet and look at. So everything here in front of me is all stuff that has been found on a mine dump, some of it by me and some of it by others. But anyway, that's what we're going to discuss today. So one of the things about collecting mineral specimens, especially on dumps, is that you want to preserve them. You want to preserve them so that you can get them home and enjoy them. You want to make sure that you're not damaging them in any way. Now, if you're collecting buckets of agate, obviously they're not very fragile. But if you're collecting crystals, ones like this, you want to make sure you're protecting the edges and the points and the tips of them and everything to keep them from getting damaged. I like to use toilet paper. It's a good way. It has multiple uses out in the field. The obvious one it's intended for, plus wrapping specimens. It can another one is paper towels. Of course, they're good. They act as a good cushion. I personally like aluminum foil for a lot of collecting things. It's like encasing them in a layer of metal, so it protects them quite nicely. Another way we do this is by taking super glue. We use various degrees of super glue that we take to the field with us, and if the specimen's super fragile, we'll just glue it to the bottom of a box and then bring it home. And if the specimen's really fragile, we can put glue on the crystals themselves, things like topaz, pseudobrokite, the red beryl combinations. And the only way to get those home is to super glue the entire thing, bring them home, and then we can soak them in acetone to dissolve the super glue, and then we have these perfectly preserved specimens. So we can glue them to the bottom of a box or a plastic container, bring them home, and it preserves them quite nicely. Another aspect of collecting minerals found on mine dumps is anthropogenic minerals. And anthropogenic minerals are minerals that are formed after the mining process. So they're caused because man dug them up and left this rock on the dump, and the chemical reactions between the new oxygen and nitrogen in the atmosphere along with the new meteoric water produces new minerals. And so there are people that collect just those or specialize in those. There's about 208 of those known to exist, and that's not counting ones that are man-created, like in a lab. You get things like yag and moissanite. Those are mineraloids that are created in a lab, or things like trinitite that were caused by the nuclear bombs where it vitrified the sand. But on mine dumps, there's about 208 different minerals that are found there, and some of them are pretty cool, and so keep an eye out for those. Learn those and keep an eye out for them. Identifying minerals can be a challenge, especially out in the field. Sometimes it's easier to bring them home and look at them with a hand lens or a microscope, but if you're looking for bigger ones, obviously that's much easier. So MINDAT, MINDAT.org is a mineralogical database. It's online. You're welcome to sign in there and use it. It's a free service, and it's used by professors and students and amateurs alike all over the world, and it's a huge database and a consortium of mineral collectors that get on there and share information. So you can post pictures on there and ask people to help you identify them, and people are always willing to help you do that. Also, you can bring specimens like by my house, and Zeke and I would be glad to look at specimens for you and help you identify your rocks. We do that all the time. What we do see a lot is people that go out to the field and they think they know what they have, and so they post that online, and they're often wrong, and then trying to correct that is always a fight and a challenge, because people never like to be challenged. So it's always best to get a proper ID to begin with. And of course, if it's something small and rare, then it becomes even more of a challenge, and sometimes it just has to be sent off to a lab to be tested. Who is not a good expert is posting it on Facebook and asking all your friends, because they really don't have any clue as to what these things are. So there's a number of paste sites around the country, even around the world. Even here in Utah, there's a handful of them where you can pay to dig on their property, and some of them for the trilobites and topaz and red beryl and azurite and malachite, and those are all fun to do. All the ones in Utah that I've visited, and I've visited all of them now, so they're all pretty legitimate. When you travel abroad, out of the state of Utah, there's a number of places that charge you, and they seed the ground, just flat out seed it, so that they make sure you're going to find something. I do like Jim Mountain up in Montana. I dug the sapphires there. I've been digging up there for 30 years. I love going to Jim Mountain, and they don't seed it. You know, I don't want to sound like a commercial for them either, but that's a good reputable place to go. The Ocean View Mine in California is a fun place to go to find tourmaline, and any of those are good places that do not seed their property. Again, some do, so you have to just be careful, read reviews, and investigate. Another fun aspect of collecting on mine dumps is collecting fluorescent minerals, and fluorescent minerals are ones that glow under ultraviolet light. So here I have, it's called a Convoy S2. It's a little tiny fluorescent light. It puts out 365 nanometers of wavelength of light, which is perfect for collecting the long wave minerals. Some minerals fluoresce underneath this, some do under the long or the short wave light. The short wave lights are much more expensive. These lights are available online. Adrienne sells them on her website, thecrystalbarista.com, so you can order them on there. They're $60 give or take, no matter where you order them from. But you just have to make sure you get the right ones. If you get the scorpion lights, they're 395 nanometers, it won't work on the minerals. And so here's just a mineral specimen from back in New Jersey. And this one is, you can just see it's gray, kind of a grayish and black spots, but you put the UV light on there and it fluoresces nice and bright green. Another aspect of things that you can collect on mine dumps is radioactive minerals, and some people really get into radioactive minerals. You can have entire cabinets of them. There are some dangers of collecting radioactive minerals, inherent dangers. It's not as dangerous as you think, but as you might think. Putting them in your house can cause some problems. You want to be careful of the radon gas. The uranium, having it in your house in and of itself, unless you put it under your pillow, is not going to be strong enough to really do anything to you. But if you collect them and keep them in your basement, you will build up radon gas. Radon gas is an odorless, tasteless, colorless gas that naturally exists in the environment, and it naturally exists in many basements already. By putting radioactive mineral specimens in there, you're concentrating that. So, and many studies have shown that smokers are the ones that really suffer from this. So if you're a smoker, you really don't want to have the radioactive minerals in your house. Keep them in your garage or keep them in a shed. They'll be just fine. One of the things you're going to need is a Geiger counter. This is just an old civil defense one from the 50s. It works great, and this one has a speaker on it and a removable probe, so I can just take it out, and that's a pretty hot specimen right there. Actually sounds really hot because I have it turned up to the highest sensitivity. It's not really as hot as it sounds. As you can see right there, a foot away, it's just background radiation. So it's only hot as you get closer and closer. It's only really hot really close. I just don't put it under my pillow, so I'm okay. No issues whatsoever. You can use these to go out and look for, the Geiger counters to go out and look for radioactive minerals. They're easy to find on mine dumps if you have one of those. Again, most people think that the radioactive minerals fluoresce, and that's a myth perpetrated by the movies. Most radioactive minerals don't fluoresce. There are a few that do, and an audenite is one of the most common ones, and it's beautiful, this beautiful limey green that it fluoresces. So anyway, go out and collect some radioactive minerals. It's fun. Well, thanks for watching, and keep in mind that all of our videos and all of our expeditions are sponsored by our real estate team. So if you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell a home, give us a call. My number is 801-910-6958. Thanks.